Hello and welcome back to this video. So in the previous video we looked at how we can use the Pollypaint to paint some color information onto our model. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead and just added a little bit more Pollypaint so it's a little bit more visible on the model here for the purposes of the video. So what we need to do now is look at how we can take the information or the color information off the Pollypaint into an actual texture. So there are two ways in which we can do this. The first way is the way that we're just going to be using through this video, as it's the quickest way, and that is to allow Zbrush to generate UVs for you. And there's various different methods in which it can generate UVs for you. And the second method is that you can use things like the UV master, where you can paint in where the seams are supposed to be and which areas are supposed to be protected. And using that method is going to give you much more greater control over the actual UV layout. Now we're not going to get into that in this particular video, but we are going to look at how we can generate a texture just using a very quick method here. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and set this to white. So we're going to go ahead and set our color to white. And once we've done that, we need to go all the way back up to geometry. And we need to, for the purposes of the generation of the UV map, need to change the amount or the divisions all the way back to its lowest division. From here, we need to go ahead and choose UV map, and then in here we'll have this option that says create. That is most likely going to be like this as you see it, but we're going to extend this. And we want to go ahead and generate a UV map. Now, there are different ways in which you can generate UV maps. So we can choose UV tiles and so on and so forth, but we want to choose this group UV tiles. So we're going to click this, and what this is going to do is it's going to create groups of polygons on our model, and then it's going to unwrap them for us. So once we have done that, we need to now go ahead and generate our texture. So to do that, we're going to go to texture map, and when we extend this, there's going to be this option that says new from Pollypaint. So we're going to click this. This is going to generate our texture from the Pollypaint. So as we can see here, this is the texture in which it has generated. Now, this is, as I said, not the most effective way to generate a UV map, and probably not the cleanest or best way to generate a texture, especially for a model like this, where you may want to have control over exporting this back to a 3D package and cleaning up the texture yourself. However, this does give us the opportunity to export this and have this as a texture map. Now, going back to the UV map, if we wanted to, we could also change the size or the resolution here. So say we only want a 512 by 512 texture, 1024 or 2048 and so on and so forth. Then we want to click these options before we click the group UVs. So let's go ahead and close this, and now what we have is our texture. Now we can go back up to the geometry and we can increase this, and what we want to do now is we want to go all the way back down to texture map, and if we remove this, so if we go ahead and remove this, okay, and we go to color and then fill color, you can see that we're actually filling this with white. I mean, this is dependent on, let's see, fill this up here, fill color. So we can still set this back to white, but if we want to use the texture, we want to go ahead and choose this texture. I'll go to texture. Let's just undo that. Let's see what's going wrong here. Okay, so we need to clone this. So we need to clone to, there we go. So now we can go back up here, increase this, and what you'll notice is that if we take one of these colors and try to paint on here, we can no longer do that. And the reason being is that this this texture is now being applied to this. So if we wanted to make modifications, we need to set this to none, and we need to go back down to texture, and we also need to set this back to none. And so what we will have the ability to do now is go ahead and we could go and add more color, and we could regenerate our texture. So say we did something like this, like that, we can go ahead and we could regenerate our texture. But for now, that's the very basics of how we can go ahead and export a texture map. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.